y'all, it's Amanda. Hope you're all doing well. Today I'm going to talk about the books that I read in September. So, just read 2 books in September. It's fine. I've been reading a little bit less just due to various circumstances and whatnot. So let's go right into it. First book I read was Steelheart by Sanderson. Probably pretty well known. So part of the reason I wanted to read this is I read the Renegades trilogy by Marissa Meyer. And my husband was like, interesting factoid, the Reckoners trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, it feels like these 2 series were based off of the same writing prompt. And yeah, I totally agree. Like, they have the same, writing prompt feel to them, but they're very different as a whole. So, Steelheart is also a story where superheroes have randomly come into being. There was an event called Calamity, and it has made superheroes, except every single person who is a superhero is awful. They're all villains. They're all terrible people who do terrible things. And which is a little bit different than Renegades, but anyway, but the same idea of superheroes are suddenly have appeared. And in this one, it centers around a young man named David who had a very tragic life event when he was young, when Steelheart, who is the ruler of the city he lives in, which is Chicago, but it's called New Chicago, Steelheart took over. And Steelheart is this villain who's completely invulnerable. He can turn things into steel. There's a whole bunch of things he can do. I forget all of his powers. But every single one of these supervillains has a weakness. They all have weaknesses, and it's really random, weird things. With this guy in particular, everyone wants to know, what is this guy's weakness? How do we overthrow him? And David is in the lucky position where he has actually seen Steelheart bleed. He's the only person who has, so he's the person who holds the key, has the big clue on how to defeat Steelheart. That's the basic premise of that story. And in the meantime, he's trying to find a group of rebels called the Reckoners in order to overthrow this guy. Let's get into what I thought of it. The big thing about this one is the mystery. That is the big thing of what is Steelheart's weakness? I spent the whole book just agonizing and wondering and theorizing about it. And the characters have the same lines of thought that I do at times, which is really interesting. And the good thing, though, is that the actual answer to the mystery is satisfying, in my opinion. I didn't figure it out. Other people might. There's a good chance you're smarter than me. I'm not a genius at figuring these things out, but I was satisfied by that, which is important. As for my general feelings on the book, it's told through first person through David's perspective, and I'll be honest, David is pretty annoying. He's just kind of an annoying character. His general attitude about things and the way he treats things, and he feels like he's so smart. Mind you, in his defense, he has one specific purpose and feeling in his life, and it's to defeat Steelheart and epics. They call the superheroes, supervillains, epics. He wants to defeat these people. He wants to defeat epics in general. So, I get it. But at the same time, and it's fine though. It's fine that he's irritating, because here's the thing. Sometimes with characters, you have to start from somewhere, and you can't always start liking a character. Now, sometimes you can. A lot of the times you can. But sometimes I think in order for a proper character growth, yeah, your character does have to start off annoying, or maybe they're not exactly what you would want, So it's fine. I honestly am it's fine that I found him annoying. He does get better, and there are things I like about him. He's fine, even though he's not perfect. You know, he wasn't annoying enough that I didn't want to keep reading or anything like that. So, but what I liked about this book is it felt like a really fast read. Like, I just went right through it. I never felt like it was sluggish. It wasn't too much action either. There were a few parts where I had to be careful about how I timed things so that I had time to get through some action parts. So, you know, that was important. So I didn't have to like stop in the middle of the action. But yeah, pacing was good. And I was, you know, fully engaged the whole time. The only other like criticism I'd have, and again, I don't think David being annoying is an actual criticism, to be fair, like, it's fine, is that at the very end, I want to say this as vaguely as possible because I don't want to spoil things. There are things that happen at the end, a lot of things happen. And one of the things that happened felt like a little bit like, okay, you know, there were certain parts of it that worked for me and certain parts that I thought were a little too much, if that makes sense. I know, I'm trying to be as vague as possible. So that's okay. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to perfectly satisfy me. I thought overall, though, it was really solid and I enjoyed it. So if you're into more of like a superhero, supervillain, fantasy kind of a book, but keep in mind that this one is considered young adult, but it is a little tough, especially the very beginning. The very beginning is actually probably the most gruesome, toughest part of the whole book. So just a heads up. Yeah, I really, as a whole, enjoyed it. Next book I read was Other Birds by Sarah Addison Allen. If you know me, which a lot of you probably don't know me that well, but maybe some of you do. Sarah Addison Allen is one of my favorite authors. I love her so much. In my mind, she's kind of like this Southern magical realism Jane Austen is how I think of her. Because her books all have certain shared elements to them, but they're all different, obviously. Anyway, I was really excited that she had a new book coming out. And, you know, obviously I wanted to read it right away. So Other Birds. Basically, it's about this, a condominium, and there's 5 apartments in this, or 5 condos. And it's kind of like tucked away in an alley and kind of hidden, but it's very beautiful, very nice. And to start events, one of the people there dies. I'm not going to go... this isn't a huge spoiler. It happens right in the beginning. One of them dies. And as a result of this person's death, all of the other neighbors are able to finally talk to each other and start to bond and get to know each other. And one of them is a new person, so you start off with her perspective and then you move on. You also see the perspective of the other residents as well. And it's kind of like a found family story, which I love found family stories. There's some romance, there's some great friendship. I honestly really enjoyed it. If you've read Sarah Addison Allen before, it's more of what you would typically expect from her, which is magical realism. This one has ghosts, and as well as like food, magical food, or like general like food descriptions, and just a general like really nice atmosphere to it. Very heartwarming. I really liked the characters. I know my description of it is very vague, but it's more, I think when you're going into Sarah Addison Allen, you kind of know generally what you're getting if you've read anything else by her. In comparison to her past works, it continues down the newer books line where she does a little less romance, which is fine. I like the more heavy romance of the heavier romance of her older novels, but it's okay. Like, she doesn't have to write to satisfy me, okay? Like, just because I have a certain taste, it's fine. I still really enjoyed the book. There's still romance. It's good. Um, so yeah, I highly recommend it. Yeah, basically 2 for 2. These books were good this month. I'm happy, satisfied. Right now, I just started the next book in the Reckoners trilogy, which is Firefight. So we'll see how that goes. I'm enjoying it so far, but I don't know exactly what's gonna happen. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well, and see you again next month. Bye.